Hey, it's our first episode. I'm excited. How are you feeling?
A little nervous. I mean, we're interviewing my parents.
Yeah, that should be fun. I'll ask your mom a bunch of questions about your childhood. Do I get to grill my mother-in-law? That will be great.
Maybe not too much grilling.
All right. Well, I know they upsized their house when you and your brothers got out of the house. So we'll talk to them about that.
Yeah, a lot of people, when the kids leave the house, they decide to downsize their home. My parents did the opposite. They upsized, and they're going to give us a little bit more details on what went into that line of logic and talk about a little bit about the home buying process for them and how it went.
And we hope those of you who are empty nesters or are about to become will find this particularly interesting. And here we go.
Let's meet the parents.
Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Anya.
Together, we bought a house in Austin, Texas.
And it's changed our lives.
I discovered a passion for real estate and embarked on a new career as a realtor.
And I fell in love with interior design and home improvement projects.
Now, we're on a mission to share the home ownership experience
by hearing other couples talk about the ups, the downs, and everything in between.
This is Houses and Spouses.
Welcome to Houses and Spouses. As much as I love hearing childhood stories about Dan, today we're actually going to talk about your second home, not the one he grew up in.
So let's jump right into that. Like, what actually got you guys motivated to actually buy a second house?
Well, it was a combination of things. Dan and Kyle, our two older boys, had gone off to college, and we had one son left at home, Brian. And we were in what was a 3-bedroom with an office, so it could have been a 4-bedroom home. Jim had worked at home for most of our marriage, so one of those 4 bedrooms was a home office. And then right about the time Kyle went off to college, I changed careers and got a job where I was working at home. So we now had a 4-bedroom house, which was essentially just a 2-bedroom house for ourselves and Brian. And then when Dan and Kyle came home from college, there was no place for them to sleep. There was no place for them to hang out with their friends if they wanted to hang out. So unbelievably so, the house got very small when our 2 older boys went off to college.
That's interesting. A lot of times when the kids do move away and you become a sort of an empty nesters, a lot of couples actually downsize, but it sounds like you guys went and upsized.
I think we kind of wanted a home where everybody had a place to come to. I mean, we were sort of like planning for grandchildren and events like that. And we just wanted the space to be able to accommodate everybody.
Yeah. And I think more than what most people realize is there's actually a transition period between the empty nest syndrome and the downsizing, because like Jim said, you want your house, your home to be the family hub, where even if your kids have gone off to college or moved to another city, which they eventually did, when they come home, they have a place and they feel like they have a place in your home.
I see. So yeah, so you really wanted, you were planning for the future, maybe for grandkids and for the family to get bigger and for everybody to sort of have a place to come. Because like, particularly in your case, like I went off to California had I gone off to California? I was in I can't remember. Was I in college or had I gone to California?
No, it was 2002. Well, it was 2007 when we moved into the house. So
Okay.
You were already in California, and Kyle was getting ready to go to California. He
never lived here.
Yeah, he did.
He did?
Yeah, he had to spend some time here because he had some dental work done. So immediately after he graduated from college, he had to spend about 4 months here till he got all his dental work done. And then he went off to
So
California.
you were just anticipating like having 2 kids in another state, and then you wanted to be able to accommodate all of us when we all came home for like the holidays and stuff like that. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then what was the catalyst that actually started this whole process? I mean, like, tell us about that.
Did I answer?
I'm not a person that likes change. So I was very comfortable where we were. You know, we had a nice house.
Yeah.
Like you said, kids were leaving. And anyway, your mom kind of persuaded me, hey, change is good. And that's kind of how, and she was pretty forceful, opinionated about wanting to make that change. So that's how we kind of.
Well, the truth is we had actually been looking. I mean, we'd been talking about what should we do? Should we add on to that house?
Yeah.
Should we build a brand new house? Should we, sell and buy another house? And we really didn't know what we wanted to do. But we knew we needed more space for when you and your brother came home. We knew that. And another thing is, us just really, really tired of when you and your brother came home, you slept in the living room. And I was constantly having to pick up the living room every single day with all your stuff because you had no place to put your stuff. And I was like, okay, I cannot live like this. We have to get a bigger house.
So what about like, so you were just passively kind of looking at houses. You hadn't hired a realtor. You hadn't like decided to put your house on the market at all, right? Like you weren't actively like pursuing this. What was it about the house that you moved into? Tell us about the circumstance of actually finding this house.
All right, so this is my favorite part of the story.
Yeah.
I'm going to say we were recreationally looking. We'd go to open houses. We would talk about where we might want to live because
Parade of homes.
Yeah, parade of homes. We thought we might want to move to a different part of the city, move into San Antonio because we live out in Spring Branch. And so we were like looking at all possibilities. Okay. But we had done that for about a year and we'd both gotten to the point where we were burnt out. We were just like, okay, we're just sick of looking at houses and we don't know what we want to do. So we'll just wait. We're going to just do nothing. Okay. And then like it was December, early December, and I went to a book club with my good friend Julie.
Okay.
And it just so happened that the day of the book club was also my birthday. So the book club was on my birthday, went to book club, hadn't talked to Julie in a while. Julie said, are you and Jim still looking for a house? And Julie actually is our backdoor neighbor now. She lives in this neighborhood and had for a while. And she said, are you guys still looking? And I said, no, we're just kind of burnt out. We're sick of it. I don't know what we're going to do. And she said, well, there's another street that just got cut through the neighborhood right behind me. And there's a lot of houses going up. Would you just want to go look at them? And truth be told, I was like, no, I'm sick of looking too, says Jim. And she said, well, let's just go after book club. Let's just walk through them. I said, okay, fine. So we did, and we went to book club, and then we came and we looked, and this particular builder had two houses down the street.
Actually had three.
Well,
Two.
Yeah,
three including.
Yeah, he had two other ones down the street. And she and I stopped at those two, and they were side by side. And so I walked in the first one, and the first one was more or less the house we lived in. It was 4-bedroom, or 3-bedroom with an office, wasn't much bigger than the house we lived in. And I said to Julie, I said, well, why would I even move and buy a new house if I'm going to get the same house? This is not going to work. And so then we went into the one next door, and it wasn't that it was that much bigger than this house. It's just that the space was in the wrong places. Like it had a media room and we didn't care about having a media room. And we needed a second office or a bedroom that could be a second office. And it didn't have that. And, it just wasn't the right house either. So Julie and I were walking back to our cars and the foreman came out. He happened to be on the job site. And he came out and he said, introduced himself. And he said, well, actually, I have a third house down the street. And he said, why don't you go? Because I told him, that one's too small and that other one's just too big or the space is in the wrong place. And he said, well, why don't you go look at the other one? It sounds like it's what you're looking for. Because I had told him we both worked at home and all that.
Sounds like the Three Bears.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he said, oh, so Julie and I, we came down here and I walked in and I started looking at where the rooms were and where the space was and where the home office was. And the more I looked at the house, I just fell in love with it. I was just like, oh, this is what we've been looking for. This has the space every place we need it. But I said to the foreman, I said, but if I don't walk out in that backyard, if I walk out in their backyard and there aren't like 100 oak trees back there, my husband's not even come look at it because he loves, having a lot of trees and a beautiful backyard and all that. And he said, well, let's go walk it. So we walked it. And you couldn't see all the way through it, but I could just see like it was just beautiful. I mean, it hit every box that we'd been looking for. And it was in the neighborhood that he already loved. He wanted to move into this neighborhood to begin with. So I called him and I said, hey, I need you to come look at this house. And he was busy with work. It was a work day for him. And it was the end of the month and he was doing all his quota numbers. And he said, Carol, I'm too busy. I can't come look at that house right now.
It was your birthday.
I know. So he said, I can't do it. And I said to him, Jim, today is my birthday. It's the one day that you have to give me something I want.
Yeah.
And the only thing I want for my birthday, I don't want a gift. I just want you to come look at this house. That's all I want is for you to come look at this house.
I think there was a threat in there too,
Yep.
somewhere.
And it was my birthday, right?
Mm.
So he did.
Yeah.
He came and he looked at it and he liked it as much as I did. And we put in an offer that weekend.
So at what stage was the house? Was it near completion?
Oh, no. It had been sheetrocked.
It was sheetrocked.
Yeah.
That was about it inside.
Yeah. There was, I mean,
Nothing, no floors. The windows were in, but no cabinets.
no finishes. None
No
whatsoever.
finishes. Was this a custom builder? Were they building each house custom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So these aren't inventory homes. These are all custom. Every home in the neighborhood looks different. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
No, they might have.
That part of the
They
attraction.
might build this house in another neighborhood or maybe on another street somewhere. Who knows? Not in this neighborhood that I've seen.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as we were concerned, it was a one and only.
So then there are different builders that came into the neighborhood and they were buying property and building houses.
That's the way this neighborhood is. It's all.
Okay. Okay.
There's no one track builder that's building all the homes.
And that was also kind of a deterrent for us, or a bit of a problem when we did start to, when we were in that stage of, well, maybe we'll build another house. We've built one, we'll build another one. But there were so many builders out here buying up all the lots that it was difficult to find a lot that a builder didn't already own, and that,
Right.
that the price had already been jacked up on. So, that's, I think, another reason why we started looking at spec homes.
I'll say this too. The first home we bought in the, what year? It was one that mortgages rates were going through the extreme high interest rates, and
Okay.
the economy was tanking, gas prices were going up. So we've experienced the worst of times at buying a house. And when we bought this one here, the conditions, the interest rates were really low, kind of like even
Like
not
that.
as actually they're lower now. So it's if you're a buyer, now's the time to buy it. When we bought our home, I think our interest rate was 16%. It
Our
was
first
crazy.
house was 15 and a half, our
Was
very
it
first
15 and a
house.
half? It was nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was the late 70s.
And it went from
Yeah.
it went from 11 when we first bought, found the house, in a matter of weeks and months before we closed or
Before we
locked in.
closed.
It had literally gone up to 16%, and it was like, and it went higher.
It went all the way up. I think.
When you bought this house?
No, not
our
this one.
first home.
Our very first home.
Okay, I see.
So the experience of this home, there wasn't quite as much pressure because the interest rates were pretty low. I think it was 3%.
Yeah, 3%, I think is what we
Something like
locked in
that.
at.
And
And when did you purchase? What year was this when you bought the house?
The very first house or this home?
This one.
2007.
2007. Oh, okay. So like the market was in a good position right around 2007 it was the ideal situation.
Yeah, the market, I think we actually found it in like January or February, something like that. And no, I take it back. It's December. We found it in December, and we didn't move in, and we didn't close and move in until May. And so the market was really high, if you remember the 2007 market, but then like about July and August, it fell out. So we lucked into just getting into the house at the right time and selling the other house just before the real estate market tanked.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like perfect timing.
It was. I mean, nothing. It was perfect timing all the way around. Perfect timing finding it.
Right.
I mean, making an offer on it and getting into it, closing on the other house. It was just like meant to be.
So what kind of help did you guys have searching for this home?
So like I said, I found the home with my friend Julie, and the builder's foreman was really more or less our contact for getting the contract signed and all that. We did not have a realtor, and in hindsight, I wish we had, truthfully.
you might want to speak about Sally Cresswell.
Yeah, so we had had a
the
realtor.
realtor that sold our house.
Yeah, we had a realtor who sold our other home, like after we written the contract on this, and we really liked her a lot. She was great. But we had a bad experience with okay, so I need to back up. So the builder more or less recommended a realtor to sell our other home, right? And we used their realtor for about 6 months, but they didn't sell it, and we weren't happy with the way we just weren't happy with them. We
Right.
felt like, I felt like especially they had overpriced the house and it sat there for 6 months, very little traffic. And it's unusual when a client tells you to lower the price, but we had told the realtor to do that and still didn't sell it, right? And then we listed with another realtor, and she sold it within, I think, a month or two.
She was more vested in the area.
Okay.
She knew the area, and she was motivated. She
Mhm.
was
And she gave great
great
advice.
personality, great advice,
Yeah.
and she showed the house. She worked. She really worked hard to sell her home. And
Yeah.
That's
So the builder just kind of let it sit there. They didn't do a lot of showings. Did they do any open houses or
They
anything?
did open houses almost every week.
Okay.
But I don't think any showings came from it because I think they had it overpriced. Because remember, this is when the
Right.
real estate market was really high.
Got it.
And so that's how they had priced it. But the great thing about the realtor Sally, who sold the house eventually, was when I say she gave us great advice, I think that's the single greatest thing she did for us. Is like, there were things, obviously we'd been in that house 22 years, I think.
Right.
And so there were things that needed to be fixed. And we were gung ho. We wanted to sell it and we were going to just fix everything. And she went through, walked the house with us and told us what we should fix and what we should sell as is. Like we had an external hot tub that had needed a new cover.
Okay.
And she said, nope, you sell that as is. And so she gave us great advice. But then there were other things she told us, little things like, well, we had to put in a garage door opener and we had to fix a plug. There wasn't a lot because we had actually redone that house 3 years before. But the advice she gave was just invaluable. And in hindsight, I wish we had had Sally on the contract to buy this home, because I think she would have been our advocate and told us some things. I mean, in the end, we still got a great house and had a good experience and we're happy. But there were things, I think, some lessons learned she could have taught us without us having to learn them on our own.
Because did you then have to negotiate with the builder, like on the finishes and the finish?
We did a little bit. We did. There was some, but I think we could have got more.
Yeah.
Would have had her.
I think so too. And there were other things like about walking the house on the end, not the inspection, but walking it just to make sure everything gets done. A realtor could do that too. Sitting there with us at closing so that if we had questions about paperwork, we could trust that she had our interest in mind and not that who you're closing with, the closing officer, should be neutral anyway, not have anybody's interest in mind. But it just would have been that trust factor of knowing that our advocate was there for us. And I wish we had done that. I truly do.
Did the builder also have you use their lender, or did you use your own lender?
I think we used their lender, didn't we?
I know we refinanced it. We might have used their lender in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think we did. I think we eventually refinanced. We had a better rate.
Yeah.
Got it.
Interest rates had gone down and we got another point off or something like that. And
Right.
that's when we went to Quicken Loans.
Got it.
So it sounds like the big things for you were the proper layout, the right number of rooms, and the big backyard with the oaks.
Yeah.
So would you say this was your dream home?
It's definitely
I think
my
so.
dream home. Yeah.
I have no visions of another home or topping this one. I think.
Yeah. I think
This is like I said, it's Hotel California, so it's this is our dream home.
And we love
I
coming
think
there.
first it was easier for me to say that because I found it. But then the more Jim got in here and he especially started working in the yard and got it cleared, and then we did landscaping together and we put in a pool, that it's definitely become the dream home, not just for us but for the whole family. It's the home where it's the hub where everyone comes.
Right.
It's exactly what you set out to get.
So then it sounds like you've done a lot of renovations to the house. Talk more about that from like when you bought it to what it is now. Because I know there's been a lot done, particularly the backyard, but like in the interior of the house from the stage you bought it at to when you completed the home.
We picked everything, so it's everything you see in the house, paint colors, what's on the floor,
Yeah, truthfully, we haven't done what I would call renovations. We did all the finishes, because we found it, and we did all the finishes, all the appliances. I mean, like your dad said, color scheme, flooring, everything. But probably the one big really true renovation we did was when we first bought the home, we put in tile floors. And I think that's the one thing that we couldn't agree on. He wanted one thing, I wanted the other. It's typical, couples do
We
that.
argued about colors when we moved into our house too.
Yeah. And we ended up putting in tile floors. And then years later, we decided we wanted wood flooring. So we ripped out all the tile in the downstairs and had wood floors.
It just changed the whole complexity of the house. The house looks so much more warmer now. It looked great then. I mean, it's a beautiful home now, but
Yeah.
our war was I wanted a lighter color tile and she wanted a darker color tile, and she gave in and gave me that concession.
Ah.
And it was great. I mean, but like I said, with the dark wood floors, it's totally, it's like talking about a new house. It was like talking about having a new home. We got a second new home because the floors just totally
I mean,
changed the house.
it makes it look more like a custom home and less like a builder's spec home,
Right.
I think. And then the only other thing we did was when the builder put it in, he put in like a gas cooktop, but not a gas oven. And I love to bake. And I, one, always wanted a second oven, and two, wanted a gas oven. And so what I realized was that cooktop already had the electrical and the gas in the right place.
Okay.
It was the right width, that all I had to do was go out and buy a gas range and have someone cut my granite countertop, and then it would slide right in. So we did that. So that was just like, perfect too. It wasn't a huge renovation, but it was, it's enough of a change to, again, just make it seem much more like a custom home.
So then I'm curious, like, what advice would you give to somebody who is in that same transitional period in their life where their kids are going off to college or maybe, moving away? And a lot of people consider downsizing, and you guys did the opposite of that. Is there any advice you would give looking back on that decision that you would give to somebody that was in that same position in their life?
Well, my point of view is this. It's a big home. It's almost 3,500 square foot, but the master bedroom is downstairs. Her office is downstairs. The living room that we really the two of us spend time in is downstairs. The kitchen's downstairs. So cut it in half. We live in 1,700 square foot of house. I mean, this is where we live. Now, I go up and my office is upstairs, but for the most part, let's just say if I was retired or we're both retired, I'm not so sure we would go upstairs other than having it for, when we have company over or the whole family comes over. So we really live in a 1,700 square foot house. So bigger is not necessarily too much. I mean, when you say downsizing.
Right.
So anyway, that's my point of view.
So my advice would be, and it's very different than your dad's, don't be afraid to sell the family home. I have to tell you, like, I was an Air Force brat, so I moved around most of my life. I bet I lived in 8 different houses before I was in junior high, just because we moved. Where your dad, on the other hand, grew up in San Antonio, born and raised in San Antonio, and lived more like you and your brothers in 2 or 3 homes, So for a little while, when I first said we're going to sell that other house, I was like the persona non grata in the family, like, what? You're selling our childhood home?
Yeah.
But now I think you and your brothers love this place. I think,
Absolutely.
Brian was in high school when we moved here, and
It's harder on him.
it was hard on him because he was moving away from his
But
girlfriend.
he didn't move too far. He didn't move out of the school district or anything.
No, he moved 5 miles. That's it. And they all adjusted. And then you and your brother adjusted too when you've been home at different times. So like, don't be afraid to, and I guess maybe like as parents, you do so much for your kids when they're growing up. And when you get to a point where your kids are grown and a little bit more independent, it's okay to think about your own future and what you want your own future to be as parents,
Right.
For sure. Is there anything about the previous house where the boys grew up that you miss, that you wish a part of it was in the new house?
Good question. Do you?
There's really nothing I miss, to be honest with you. I mean, I love that home. I mean, it was
I know one thing we don't really miss it, but it's a fond memory, and that is that we moved into that home when it was semi-finished, and we did all the finished work on it. And during that year we lived there, at Christmas time, we made our own Christmas paper, and Dan and Kyle, we dipped their feet in red and green paint and put brown wrapping paper down the long hallway, and they ran along the paper, and then they put their hands on it. So like anybody who pulls up the carpeting in that hallway is going to see Dan and Kyle's footprints from when they were 4 and 2.
Yeah.
I didn't
And
know
then
that.
I think we got pictures. We got pictures of where y'all
Yeah.
But
had done that. I'm talking about on the paper and off the paper. So like she said, if somebody ever recarpets, they're going to see these little feet print.
They are.
Feet
I love that.
And I guess one other thing that I miss is when we moved out, somehow we left behind my baby bed from when I was a baby.
Oh, like in the attic.
Yeah, we left it in the
Probably
attic.
still there.
It's probably still up there. It's when I was a baby. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe we did that.
You know, that makes me think of when people have notches of their kids growing up, and that
Yeah.
must have been a hard thing to leave behind. But
Yeah.
hopefully there are pictures of that too. So at the end of the day, it sounds like you're really happy where we are. I know we love coming to that home
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
congregating with the whole family.
Yeah.
So is your advice then that change is good and to embrace that new home for anyone that has any hesitation about the nostalgia of the previous home?
Yeah. Like one of the things I learned as an Air Force brat is it didn't matter the structure we lived in as a family. You bring your memories with you, no matter where you go. Like we'll always have fond memories of that previous home, not only because it's where the boys grew up, but it was our first custom home, and we did a lot of the finishing. I mean, Jim stained the doors and the trim, and I wallpapered. So
cabinets.
yeah,
We did
and the
everything.
cabinets. Yeah, so like we'll always have fond memories of that home, but they don't go away just because you're not living in it anymore. You still
Right.
have them.
For sure. For sure.
I think that's tremendous advice. I mean, a lot of people, it's hard to separate yourself because you literally live in this place, right? But I mean, you create all these new memories. You guys have been in your home for how long now?
14 years.
It's hard to believe, really. Yeah.
So this is like sort of like that. This is a completely different chapter of your life. And a lot of it is defined by the house itself, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, you've done a lot to the backyard, and you've done a lot landscaping around the yard and stuff like that. And maybe like as we wrap up, like, could you speak to that? Like what you guys have done to transform, like, because this was a home that was built by a builder, but you really made it your own. And what have you guys done, like, aside from the house itself? I mean, like, you know, in and around the house, like with the backyard and all the landscaping you've done. Could you speak to that just a little bit?
You know, for as long as we've been here, there's still more for us to do. We still make plans. Like
Yeah.
our next project is probably gonna be putting in a greenhouse. So for
Oh, wow.
you know, we're getting closer to retirement, and
Yeah.
grandparents, Grampy, you know, he grows his own tomatoes, and sooner or later we're not gonna have that luxury of getting free tomatoes. So we got plans on making a nice little garden in the back, and
Yeah. Well, we
Yeah,
put
check it
in,
out.
so we put in a patio, a flagstone patio, pretty big on the back side, landscaped all around it. Put in a pool. We put in this really cool little area over on the one side we call the grotto, which
Oh.
we wanted a little bit of privacy from one of our neighbors on one side. So
Yeah.
there wasn't as much. We tried planting stuff there, but it just wouldn't take off because it's under some oak trees. So we had someone come out and build us a wall that's kind of staggered, you know, with some windows in it. And we put a fire pit over there and some river rock, and done that. We put a playscape in for the grandkids, you know, at the very back. And we have a second patio at the very back that has a tree swing in it.
Oh, wow.
And last year we put in 2 egg chairs that hang in the middle of the
We
yard.
love the egg chairs.
They're so
It
cool.
sounds like this was like a perfect place to like spend your whole, like 2020, where we were all kind of stuck at home.
no doubt about it. Yeah, we
Your
you
little
know,
backyard
we
paradise.
can't say we were suffering. You know, everybody suffered during the pandemic. I mean,
Right.
but hey, if we didn't have it so bad. We had plenty to entertain us outside,
Yeah.
and for the time to go by. So
Yeah.
we kind of still enjoy each other's company. So it you know it all worked out.
Sort of.
That helps for sure.
Well, thank you for sharing your experience with us and your home. We're looking forward to coming over. And for our daughter, your granddaughter, to continue playing as she gets older in that playscape. And I just love that you went from, the house where your children grew up in to the house where now your grandchildren can grow up in and make their own memories. And maybe even we'll dip Margot's feet in some paint next time she comes over.
There you go.
Exactly.
Not on the wood floor. So.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys doing this. It was really fun to hear your story all over again. I mean, I experienced some of it, but like I was also in California. So it's great just to hear this story like firsthand. So thank you.
Hey, that was fun. What did you think?
I thought it was great. My parents were a really solid interview.
Absolutely. I really like the point about not being afraid of selling your childhood home and building memories in a new one. So I think we should keep doing this.
I think so too. We have a bunch of episodes lined up. We're going to be interviewing more couples. And if you want to be featured in an upcoming episode, reach out to us.
We can be reached at houses.spouses@gmail.com. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.